November 13th, 1942, 22:15. Reichsmarshal Hermann Goering was sitting in his luxury mansion at Karinhall and was telling a lie to Adolf Hitler on the phone. Over the line, Hitler's voice came from the Führer headquarters in Berlin. Hermann, the Sixth Army at Stalingrad, is surrounded. 250,000 soldiers inside the ring. Can they be supplied by air bridge? Goering hesitated for a second. Calculations ran through his mind. 250,000 soldiers. Minimum 500 tons of supply needed daily. Luftwaffe's current capacity, in ideal conditions, maximum 300 tons. But conditions at Stalingrad weren't ideal. Russian air defense was intense. Weather was terrible. Aircraft numbers insufficient. Pilot quality had declined. Realistic calculation, maybe 100 to 150 tons could be supplied daily. So impossible. Goering knew this. Completely knew it. But he told Hitler, "Mein Führer, the Luftwaffe can do it. I will supply the Sixth Army by air. I give him my word." Hitler relaxed. "I trust you, Hermann. Save the Sixth Army." Goering hung up the phone, rubbed his hands, smiled, and prepared his morphine injection. In that moment, the fate of 250,000 German soldiers was sealed. Because Goering couldn't do it. But he had given his word. And when you gave Hitler your word, you couldn't go back. Before we begin the story, please hit the like button. It helps us reach more people with these forgotten stories. Subscribe, turn on notifications. On the Germany at War channel, we tell the real stories of the war from the German side. And leave a comment. Tell us where you're watching from. Now, let's get back to the story. Hermann Goering was once Nazi Germany's most powerful man, second after Hitler. Joined the Nazi Party in the 1920s. Was wounded in the 1923 Beer Hall Putsch. Organized the SA in the 1930s. Became Deputy Prime Minister in 1933. Founded the Luftwaffe in 1935. Received the Reichsmarschall title in 1940, the only person in history. Goering was charismatic, energetic, intelligent, but also narcissistic, greedy, weak. 1940 was Goering's peak. France fell. The Luftwaffe dominated the skies. Goering was Europe's most famous general. Medals, uniforms, palaces, art collections. He had everything. Hitler trusted him limitlessly. But in the fall of 1940, everything began to change. Battle of Britain. Goering had promised Hitler, "The Luftwaffe will bring England to its knees." But he failed. The RAF resisted. London bombardment didn't break British morale. The Luftwaffe took losses. In September 1940, Hitler canceled the invasion. Goering was blamed. Though Hitler didn't say it openly, he knew of Goering's failure. And Goering began to fall in Hitler's eyes. 1941 was worse. The Soviet invasion began. The Luftwaffe was deployed in the east. First weeks, tremendous success. Thousands of Soviet aircraft destroyed. But Soviet industry produced new planes. Soviet pilots learned. And the Luftwaffe began to exhaust. Pilot losses, aircraft losses, fuel shortages. In 1942, Goering was no longer Hitler's favorite man. Hitler was scolding him. In meetings, humiliating Goering. Why is the Luftwaffe inadequate? Why are there still Soviet aircraft? Goering couldn't answer. Goering didn't want to be in Berlin. Because in Berlin, he faced Hitler's wrath. So he retreated to Karinhall. His massive mansion, 65 kilometers north of Berlin. 100,000 square meters of land. 600 rooms. Private train station. Art galleries. Zoo. Goering's private kingdom. There, Goering could escape from reality. Could take morphine. Could engage with his art collection. Could forget the war. But the war didn't forget him. November 1942, Stalingrad. The German Sixth Army had been fighting for months to capture the city. Ruin upon ruin. Heavy casualties. But progress was slow but determined. Commander, General Friedrich Paulus. Disciplined, professional, loyal to Hitler. The Sixth Army was one of the Wehrmacht's most powerful armies. But at the beginning of November, it was dangerously stretched out. The front line was too long. Flanks were weak, protected by Romanian and Italian Allied units. These units had weak equipment, morale was low. Soviet General Staff saw this weakness. Planned Operation Uranus. Two pincer movements from north and south of Stalingrad. Break through weak Romanian and Italian lines. Encircle 6th Army. November 19th, 1942, morning 7:30. Soviet artillery began bombarding Romanian lines in the north. 3,500 guns. 2 hours continuous fire. Then tanks. T-34s poured onto the frozen steppe. Romanian units collapsed. Defense line fragmented. November 20th, same scenario in the south. Romanian lines were broken. Soviet tanks advanced to meet northern units. November 22nd, the ring closed. At Kalach, on the Don River, North and South Soviet units joined. 6th Army was inside. 250,000 soldiers. 100,000 Allied Romanian, Italian, Croatian units. 13,000 vehicles. 1,800 artillery pieces. 10,000 horses. The encirclement was 50 kilometers wide, 40 kilometers deep. Inside, Stalingrad city, some small towns, mostly open steppe terrain. Winter was coming. Paulus reported to Hitler. 6th Army surrounded. Request permission to withdraw westward. We need a break through the ring. Hitler's response. Number 6th Army will stay at Stalingrad. No retreat. Hold. Paulus was shocked. But Hitler's order was absolute. Not debatable. Then Hitler asked the critical question, can we supply the 6th Army by air? Hitler's question was relayed to Luftwaffe General Staff. Emergency meeting held at Luftwaffe headquarters in Berlin. Participants, General Oberst Hans Jeschneck, Chief of General Staff. General Feldmarschall Erhard Milch, Goering's deputy. Various logistics and operations officers. Jeschneck presented the calculations. Requirement. 6th Army needs minimum 500 tons of supply daily. Food, ammunition, fuel, medical supplies. Ideally, 700 tons would be better. Capacity. Available aircraft. Around 500 Junkers Ju-52 transport planes. Around 100 Heinkel He-111 bombers, adapted for cargo transport. Each Ju-52 can carry 2.5 tons of cargo. Calculation. 500 tons/day, 200 Ju-52 flights needed daily. Or equivalent combination. Problems. Weather conditions. November, December, January, Russian winter. Blizzards, icing, low visibility. 50% of flying days. Weather conditions not suitable for flight. Air defense. Soviet fighter planes, anti-aircraft guns. Dense over Stalingrad. Loss rate will be high. Airfields. Only one main airfield inside encirclement, Potomnik. One backup, Gumrak. Both small, limited capacity. Maximum 100 aircraft can take off and land per day. Distance. Distance from nearest German-controlled airfields to Stalingrad, 200 to 250 kilometers. Round-trip flight, 3 to 4 hours. Maximum 2 to 3 sorties per day possible. Maintenance. Aircraft need constant maintenance. After every 10 flights, 1 day maintenance. So actual available aircraft number, 20% less. Jeschneck summarized the result. Realistically, we can supply 150 to 200 tons daily. In ideal conditions, maybe 250 tons. But 500 tons? Impossible, Milch added. And this is without accounting for losses. Every day, we'll lose aircraft, lose pilots. After a month, capacity will be even lower. Silence in the room. Everyone knew the truth. The air bridge would fail. Jeschneck prepared a report for Hitler. Honest, technical, pessimistic. The Luftwaffe cannot adequately supply the 6th Army. But before this report reached Hitler, it had to go through Goering's desk. Evening of November 13th, Goering was at Karinhall. Jeschneck's report arrived by courier. Goering read it. His face tensed. Goering knew the truth. The Luftwaffe couldn't do it. It was impossible. But telling Hitler impossible would bring an end to Goring's power, because Hitler was already angry with Goring. Failure in Battle of Britain. Inadequacy on Eastern Front. If he now said, "I can't save Stalingrad," Hitler would overthrow him. What makes someone else Luftwaffe commander? Goring's power, position, mansion, everything would go. Goring considered alternatives. Option 1, be honest. Tell Hitler the truth. We can't do it. Result, removal from duty. Maybe worse. Option 2, lie. Tell Hitler, we can do it. Short term, Hitler would be pleased. Goring would keep his position. Long term, maybe a miracle would happen. Maybe Sixth Army would break through the ring. Maybe Russian air defense would weaken. Maybe weather would improve. And if not, he could blame others. Not enough aircraft given. Weather was too bad. Airfields were inadequate. Goring made his decision. Option 2. He called Jeschneck. On the phone. "Hans, I read your report. Too pessimistic. We'll present a more positive version to Hitler." Jeschneck objected. "But Herr Reichsmarschall, the calculations are clear. We can't do it." Goring answered sharply. "Calculations are only on paper. In reality, the German Luftwaffe always achieves the impossible. We will do it. I will give my word to Hitler." Jeschneck was silenced. Couldn't oppose Goring. But inside was a terrible feeling. 250,000 soldiers would depend on Goring's lie. That same night, Goring called Hitler and gave his word. "Mein Führer, the Luftwaffe can do it. I will supply the Sixth Army by air." Hitler asked, "Are you sure, Hermann? It's very critical." Goring smiled. Though not heard on the phone, there was confidence in his voice tone. "My Führer, have I ever lied to you? The Luftwaffe always succeeds." Hitler believed, because he wanted to believe. Keeping the Sixth Army at Stalingrad was strategically important. If it withdrew, prestige loss, Soviet morale boost, German allies' confidence loss. Unacceptable. But if the air bridge worked, the Sixth Army could stay at Stalingrad, be rescued in spring. Perfect. Hitler sent order to Paulus. "Sixth Army will stay at Stalingrad. Luftwaffe will supply you by air." Hold. Paulus was horrified, but it was an order. He accepted. Goring hung up the phone, prepared his morphine syringe, injected into his vein, smiled lightly. "It'll be handled somehow," he muttered, and sank into his armchair. November 24th, 1942, air bridge operation officially began. To avoid confusion with codename Wintergewitter, Winter Storm, it was simply called Luftbrücke Air Bridge. First day, goal, 300 tons of supply. Reality, 65 tons. Problems emerged immediately. Weather, first day, blizzard. Visibility 100 meters. Many aircraft couldn't take off. Those that took off couldn't find Stalingrad. Some landed behind Soviet lines by mistake. Crew captured. Air defense. Soviet fighter planes were patrolling the area. Yak, 1 lag, 3 MiG-3. Ju-52s were slow and defenseless. Easy target. First day, 5 Ju-52s shot down. Airfield capacity. Potomac Airfield was chaotic. Runway was frozen ground. When aircraft landed, wheels sank in mud. Unloading was done by hand. Trucks insufficient. Each aircraft stayed on ground 30 to 40 minutes. So only 70 to 80 aircraft could take off and land per day, instead of calculated 100. Second day, worse, 50 tons. Third day, 75 tons. Fourth day, 40 tons, blizzard, no flights. First week total, 350 tons. Less than half the target. In Sixth Army, starvation was beginning. Normal daily ration, 750 grams bread, meat, vegetables. Siege ration, 350 grams bread, some canned food. End of first week, 250 grams bread, no meat. Paulus sent report to Hitler. Supply inadequate. Army in danger of starvation. Need urgent additional supply. Or withdrawal permission. Hitler's response. Goring gave his word. Supply will come. Wait. Paulus sent telegram directly to Goring. Herr Reichsmarschall, supply at critical level. Need more flights. Goering had no response, because Goering, at Karinhall, under morphine influence, was engaged with his art collection. Beginning of December 1942, panic at Luftwaffe General Staff. Jeschneck was reviewing daily reports. Numbers were terrible. Average daily supply, 95 tons daily requirement, 500 tons deficit, 405 tons/day cumulative deficit, 10 days 4,050 tons. Sixth Army was collapsing. Soldiers were weakening from hunger. Horses were being slaughtered and eaten. Fuel was exhausted. Tanks had become immobile. Ammunition was decreasing. Artillery fire was restricted. Jeschneck gathered courage to call Goering. On phone, Herr Reichsmarschall, Stalingrad situation critical. We're not reaching supply targets. You must tell Hitler the truth. Goering got angry. What truth? We're doing our best. Jeschneck, but it's not enough. Sixth Army is dying. Goering, then make more flights. Show more effort. Jeschneck, no aircraft. No pilots. Weather is terrible. Goering, excuses. The German Luftwaffe always find a way. You're not working hard enough. Hung up the phone. Jeschneck sat at his desk, put his head in his hands. Was helpless. Goering wasn't accepting reality. And Jeschneck couldn't report directly to Hitler. Chain of command went through Goering. Same period, Goering made a public speech. In Berlin, radio broadcast. Speech topic, Heroism of Stalingrad. Goering said proudly, Sixth Army is fighting heroically at Stalingrad, and the Luftwaffe is supporting them. Every day, our brave pilots, in all conditions, under danger, make supply flights. Sixth Army is not hungry. Sixth Army is strong, and in spring, they will win victory. Soldiers inside the encirclement who heard this speech were shocked. Not hungry? Strong? What is this man saying? One soldier wrote in his diary, Goering is lying. We are hungry. We are weak. We are dying. And he, in Berlin, is making false propaganda. Mid-December, rebellion began within the Luftwaffe. Young officers could no longer tolerate Goering's lies. One dared to act. General Major Martin Fiebig, commander of 8th Fliegerkorps, responsible for Stalingrad operation, was watching his own pilots die. Every day, aircraft were falling. Every day, pilots were dying. And every day, supply targets weren't being reached. On December 10th, Fiebig sent a report directly to Hitler. Skip chain of command. Bypass Goering. Directly to Führer. Main Führer, Stalingrad air bridge, is failing. Daily supply at 20% of target. Sixth Army dying from hunger and cold. Luftwaffe cannot fulfill Reichsmarschall Goering's promise. Urgent decisions needed. When this report reached Hitler's desk, it exploded like a bomb. Hitler called Goering to emergency meeting. December 12th, Berlin. Hitler's headquarters. Hitler face to face with Goering. Hitler, Hermann, according to Fiebig's report, air bridge failing. True, Goering sweated. Main Führer, there are some difficulties, but... Hitler, difficulties? You told me I can do it. You gave your word. Goering, yes, but weather, Soviet fighters, airfield problems. Hitler, excuses. You're Reichsmarschall. You're responsible. 250,000 soldiers trust your word. Goering shrank. Hitler's anger was terrible, but Goering made one last move. Main Führer, if Wehrmacht does Stalingrad rescue operation, if we break the ring, problem solved. Hitler paused. Actually, such an operation was being planned. Operation Wintergewitter Winterstorm, under Feldmarschall Erich von Manstein's command. 4th Panzer Army would advance towards Stalingrad, would break the ring. Hitler, Wintergewitter is starting. But meanwhile, Luftwaffe will continue supplying. More effort. Goering, yes, Main Führer, more effort. But both knew, too late. December 12th, 1942, Operation Wintergewitter began. Manstein's 4th Panzer Army attacked from 120 kilometers south of Stalingrad. Goal: reach Stalingrad, break the ring, save 6th Army. First days were hopeful. German tanks advanced, broke through Soviet defense. Within 5 days, 50 kilometers advance. Only 48 kilometers to Stalingrad. December 19th, Manstein sent message to Paulus, 4th Panzer Army, 48 kilometers away. You also break out south. Let's meet. Break the ring. Paulus hesitated. Hitler's order was clear: stay at Stalingrad. No retreat. But if he broke out south, he'd have abandoned Stalingrad. This meant disobedience to Hitler. Paulus requested permission from Hitler. Hitler's response: no, won't abandon Stalingrad. Manstein will come to you. But Manstein couldn't advance further, because Soviets started new offensive from north, broke through Italian 8th Army's defense line. Manstein had to withdraw. Otherwise, he'd be encircled too. December 23rd, Wintergewitter was cancelled. 4th Panzer Army withdrew. 6th Army was left alone. At Stalingrad, soldiers heard the news. Morale collapsed. No one's coming. We've been abandoned. When Goering heard this news, he breathed with relief. Because now he had someone else to blame. Wehrmacht. I did my best with the Luftwaffe. But Wehrmacht couldn't save 6th Army. Perfect excuse. January 1943. Stalingrad was like hell. Blizzards were continuous. Food had run out. Soldiers were receiving 100 grams of bread per day. Some days none at all. Air bridge had almost completely collapsed. Mid-January, Soviet offensive captured Potomac airfield. Only Gumrak remained, much smaller. Daily supply dropped to 30 to 40 tons. Soldiers were freezing to death. No medical supplies. No surgical instruments. No anesthesia. Wounded were dying without treatment. Amputations were being done without anesthesia. Soldiers were dying screaming. One doctor wrote in his diary, "Today I did 15 amputations. No anesthesia. Patients screaming. I'm crying, but can't stop, because if I don't cut, gangrene spreads, they die." Hunger was maddening. Soldiers ate everything. Horses were finished. Cats, dogs were eaten. Even belts, shoe soles were boiled, made into soup. One soldier wrote in a letter, "Mother, if you receive this letter, know that I'm dead. Because here, no one will survive." We were lied to. Goering gave his word, but lied. We were betrayed. January 10th, 1943, Soviets launched final offensive. From west, north, south. Ring shrank. 6th Army was divided into pieces. January 22nd, Gumrak airfield fell. No more air bridge. Last supply flight occasionally dropped cargo over Soviet lines, but most fell to Soviet lines. January 25th, 6th Army divided into 2 pockets, Northern Pocket and Southern Pocket. Communication between them cut. January 31st, in Southern Pocket, Paulus surrendered. Hitler had promoted him to Feldmarschall the day before. Message: no German Feldmarschall ever surrendered. Choose honorable death. But Paulus chose to surrender. 90,000 soldiers taken prisoner. February 2nd, Northern Pocket also surrendered. Total prisoners, 91,000. At the beginning of the battle, there were 250,000 soldiers. 159,000 died. From hunger, from cold, from bullets. Stalingrad was over. Germany's greatest military disaster. February 1943, Berlin. Hitler called Goering to headquarters. Meeting private behind closed doors. Hitler yelled at Goering, "You gave me your word." 250,000 soldiers died. Stalingrad lost. All because of your lie. Goering tried to defend. Mein Führer, the weather. Hitler, weather? You didn't know about the weather? Your Luftwaffe commander. Goering, Soviet fighters were stronger than expected. Hitler, they were always strong. You should have known. Goering, aircraft numbers were insufficient. Hitler, then why did you say I can do it? Goering remained silent. No answer. Hitler continued in a cold voice, "Hermann, you lied to me. 250,000 soldiers died for your lie. And now, the whole world sees Germany's greatest defeat. Propaganda disaster, military disaster, strategic disaster. All because of you. Goering bowed his head. Mein Führer, I apologize. Hitler, apology isn't enough. You should be removed from duty. But right now it would look worse. Enemy would make propaganda. Hitler fired Goering. So you'll stay? But never, ever lie to me again. Understood? Goering. Yes, Mein Führer. But Hitler never forgave. From that day on, his trust in Goering was completely gone. In meetings, he didn't ask Goering's opinion, didn't consider Goering's advice. Goering became a figurehead. The Stalingrad disaster opened deep wounds within the Luftwaffe. Pilots could no longer trust Goering. General Staff began questioning Goering's decisions. Jeschneck, Chief of General Staff, collapsed. Was blaming himself. I should have opposed Goering. Should have told Hitler the truth. But I didn't have the courage. August 18, 1943, Jeschneck committed suicide. With a pistol, shot himself in the head. In his suicide note, he wrote, I can no longer bear this burden. Stalingrad is on my conscience. Unforgivable. Goering didn't even attend his funeral. Milch, Goering's deputy, openly rebelled. In a meeting, said to Goering's face, Herr Reichsmarschall, we lost 266 aircraft at Stalingrad. 1,000 pilots died. All because of your lie. No one trusts you anymore. Goering scolded Milch. How dare you speak to me like that? Milch, I'm speaking the truth. Someone had to say it. Goering didn't remove Milch from duty. Because Milch was too talented, necessary to run the Luftwaffe. But their relationship never recovered. Pilots made jokes about Goering. Called him der Dick, the fat one. Mocking, contemptuous. The once respected commander was now an object of ridicule. 1943 to 1945, Goering's final fall. After Stalingrad, Hitler didn't trust him. The Luftwaffe was under increasingly more pressure. Allied bombardments were destroying German cities. The Luftwaffe had lost air superiority. Goering evaded responsibility. Didn't want to be in Berlin. Stayed at Karinhall. Or at other mansions. Art collection grew even larger. Stolen art works from occupied countries. Goering tried to forget the war. Morphine addiction increased. 100 milligrams per day. 10 times normal. Goering sometimes lost connection with reality. Slept in meetings. Couldn't make decisions. 1944, disaster upon disaster. D-Day, Normandy landing. Goering had told Hitler, Luftwaffe will throw Allies into the sea. But Luftwaffe was almost invisible in the sky. Allied air superiority was absolute. Hitler yelled at Goering, Where's your Luftwaffe? Where are your planes? Goering couldn't answer. Beginning of 1945, Berlin's siege was approaching. Goering evacuated Karinhall, moved art collection south, to Bavaria. He fled there too. April 20th, 1945, Hitler's last birthday. Goering came to Berlin, said goodbye to Hitler. Both knew Germany had lost. These were the final days. Goering asked Hitler, Mein Führer, if Berlin falls, does leadership pass to me? Goering had been appointed as Hitler's official successor in 1939. Hitler looked coldly. If necessary, yes. But I'm still alive. April 23rd, Goering in the South sent a telegram to Hitler. Mein Führer, Berlin besieged. Communication cut. If I don't receive response by 2200 hours, we'll assume I'm taking over leadership. Loyal to you, Hermann Goering. Hitler received the telegram. Went mad with rage. Treason. Goering trying to overthrow me. Bormann provoked Hitler. Yes, Mein Führer, Goering is a traitor. Hitler immediately ordered Goering removed from all duties. Will be arrested. Expelled from party. Goering was arrested by SS. But when Hitler committed suicide, he surrendered to Americans. 1945 to 1946, Nuremberg trials. Goering was one of the main defendants. Charges: war crimes, crimes against humanity, starting aggressive war. But Stalingrad also came up. Prosecutors asked Goering, "You promised Hitler you would supply Sixth Army by air. Why? You knew it was impossible." Goering tried to defend. "I trusted the Luftwaffe's capacity. Weather was worse than expected. Soviet resistance was stronger." Prosecutor, "But calculations showed from the start it was impossible. Your general staff told you. You still gave your word. Why?" Goering paused. Then, in a rare moment of honesty, admitted, "Because I couldn't tell Hitler I can't do it. Well, I've lost my position. So I gave my word. And I was wrong." Prosecutor, "So 250,000 soldiers died to protect your career?" Goering remained silent. Didn't answer. The court found Goering guilty. Death sentence given. But the night before execution, Goering committed suicide with cyanide capsule. Final move. Kept control with himself. Historians have debated Goering's motivation for years. Why did he tell such an obvious lie? Theory 1. Career protection. Goering had fallen in Hitler's eyes. Battle of Britain, failures on Eastern Front. If he also said can't at Stalingrad, Hitler would fire him. Goering didn't want to lose his position, power, luxurious life. So he lied. Short-term preserved his position. Long-term lost everything. Theory 2. Disconnection from reality. Goering was morphine addicted in 1942. His connection with reality had weakened. Maybe he really believed the Luftwaffe could do it. Believed his own lie. Narcissism and addiction had impaired his judgment. Theory 3. Obsession with pleasing Hitler. Goering felt religious devotion to Hitler. Had been Hitler's loyal supporter since the 1920s. Disappointing Hitler was unbearable for Goering. When Hitler asked, "Can you do it?" Goering saw no option but to say yes. Making Hitler happy was more important than reality. Theory 4. Evading responsibility. Maybe Goering planned to shift blame for failure to others. "I gave my word, but Wehrmacht failed. Weather was too bad. Soviets were stronger than expected. Could always produce excuses. And partly succeeded. But history didn't forgive him. The truth, probably all of them." Goering protected career, denied reality, pleased Hitler, shifted responsibility, did all together. In result, 250,000 soldiers died. Goering's Stalingrad lie offers lessons for modern leadership. Lesson 1. Leaders must be able to deliver bad news. Goering couldn't tell Hitler can't do it. Was afraid. Result, disaster. In modern organizations, leaders must be able to say no. Mustn't make impossible promises. Honesty more important than career. Lesson 2. Technical reality supersedes political desire. Hitler wanted to hold Stalingrad for political, strategic reasons. But technical reality, air bridge, impossible. Goering sacrificed technical reality to political desire. Result, both lost. Lesson 3. Short-term gain, long-term disaster. Goering won short-term, preserved position, but long-term lost everything. Trust, respect, career, even life, suicide. Short-term calculations lead to disaster. Lesson 4. Lies always come out. Goering thought his lie would remain hidden. Maybe could shift blame to others. But truth always comes out, and the liar is never forgiven. Hermann Goering died with cyanide capsule on October 15, 1946, in Nuremberg prison, night before execution. Kept final control with himself, but couldn't escape history's judgment. Goering is remembered as Stalingrad's murderer. 250,000 soldiers died for his lie. Once, he was Nazi Germany's most powerful man, Hitler's heir, founder of Luftwaffe, but in the end, just a liar, morphine addict, art thief, traitor. Goering's Stalingrad lie is leadership's darkest example. When personal interest comes before duty, thousands die. And today, 80 years later, the lesson's still valid. Leaders must be honest, mustn't make impossible promises, because lies kill people. If this story affected you, please hit the like button. Every like helps us reach more people with these forgotten stories. subscribe, and turn on notifications. On the Germany at War channel, we tell the real stories of World War II from the German perspective. And write a comment. Tell us where you're watching from. This community is spread across the entire world. You're part of it too. Thank you for watching.